Alright, what up everybody? It's your boy Akeen and welcome to today's blog. Continuing with more scout reports on players headed towards the 2014 NFL Draft. Today, I'm here to talk about Scott Crichton, the defensive end coming out of Oregon State. Now, this is the particular defensive end who's a little bit under the radar, a little bit second rate just behind elite players like Coney Ealy and Jadeveon Clowney. Not as elite and as athletic as those particular players who are within my top 5, but I think he's a good safe pick in this year's draft, a more of a safe selection. He actually was just outside my top 5 overall. Now let's talk a little bit about him. He didn't play as a true freshman, actually redshirted his first year as a Beaver, and then finally came in his second season as a redshirt freshman, and he actually made an immediate impact on that defense, registering 74 tackles, 14.5 tackles for loss, and 6 sacks. And he actually improved a little bit as far as the tackles for loss throughout his career as a Beaver. Now for the next 2 seasons, his numbers dropped in tackles. He only had 44 tackles in 2012, and in 2013 he had 47 tackles, but in 2012 he had 17.5 tackles for loss and 19 tackles for loss, and actually 16.5 sacks overall for the past 2 seasons. Good numbers, good safe numbers, particularly in 2012 where he had 9 sacks. Now I think this could be a good safe pick of this year's draft. As I mentioned before, he's a good player a little bit all around, but he is more of a traditional 4-3 defensive end that some teams are looking for. Now let's give you a couple of strengths about him. Now he has a well-built frame and an overall muscular build. He weighs 265 pounds at 6'3". Good size that you're looking for. He times the snap pretty well coming off the line of scrimmage, and he has good initial quickness, which is a good thing. He has great acceleration off of his initial burst coming off the line of scrimmage. Now, as far as his speed, he runs a 4.8, 4.40. He doesn't have the straight line speed that you're looking for, but I still think it's a good average speed that you're looking for at defensive end. Now, he does have some good strength. He has good core strength. He had 24 reps at 225 pounds at the scouting combine, and he actually has the ability to bull rush some blockers, whoever is blocking in front of him, to bull rush around through them, and I think this is a good trait about him. Now, he has good strength in his hands, in which once he has to grab a hold of you, he pretty much does not let go. He has great hand gripness, in which even if he holds onto the jersey, he will be able to pull the ball carrier down. That is another trait that I do like about him. Now, a couple of weaknesses. He's a little bit stiff in changing directions, going from sideline to sideline. It's when they saw a lot of shuffling drills at the scouting combine, I saw him kind of had a struggle changing his hips and changing directions overall. Needs to improve that. I already mentioned his ideal speed. You wish he was just a little bit faster, at least at the 4.7 range. Also, he relies more on anticipation than and that's because of his speed. He relies more on his anticipation as opposed to attacking the ball carrier and getting to the ball carrier from sideline to sideline. He needs to work on that just a little bit. He must not wait too much and anticipate on the ball carrier. And as I mentioned before, he's a traditional 4-3 defensive end, which means he's pretty limited to different schemes and roles on the defensive side. But against Oregon this past season, rival Oregon, he even lined up as a nose tackle. So that shows a little bit of versatility, but not enough. He needs to be used and understand different defensive schemes, like even running a 4-3 defense if possible, or even standing up as a defensive end, as well as going in a 2-point stance, as in a 3-point stance on defense. A little bit of a scheme issue with that, but I think with a good coach, he could be a good, reliable player, a safe pick. Like Brian Roberson out of the Minnesota Vikings. He reminds me a little bit of him. I'm comparing him to the 2 players, but I think he could be a good traditional 4-3 defensive end, in which many teams are looking at in this league. Now, I believe that he's going to be a 3rd round selection of this year's draft, but I think he's a good safe pick. He's not the sexiest, most athletic player that you want, but he is a good, reliable player overall, and I think he could be a good, at least a mid-3rd round pick of this year's draft. He might slip to the 4th round, but I have to grade him as a 3rd round selection of this year's draft. Now, the next time I'm going to catch you guys is tomorrow with another scout report. We're getting closer to this year's draft. I think we have about 50 days left. I am very excited, but I'm going to continue to give you scout reports and headed towards the month of April. I promise you I will start off with my mock draft in the 1st round overall. Thank you for watching today's blog. From Pro Football Exclusive, I'm your man, Akeen McCall. Be easy.